Saturday night in Houston, Texas. It was a good chess match fought at a high level between O'Shaquie Foster and Raymond Ford for the WBC super featherweight title. O'Shaquie Foster finishes strong, closes the show like a champion, and holds on and retains the WBC super featherweight title. Let's get into all of it. Before we do, though, allow me to indulge a little bit with some people in my comments, Raheem. They get under my skin, okay? I could be a little sensitive with the best of them, right? You've been there.
I thought for 100,000% you're about to say, allow me to reintroduce myself.
Yeah.
We just saw Hove on the picnic with the Roots. I was like, is Sean going hip hop classic on us? But I feel like you're about to spit hotter fire than we just seen from Jay-Z's freestyle. Drop
Well,
it
look,
on
you
him.
could blame Sean, but I didn't invent the game. I'm just rolling the dice trying to get some change, okay? But there's no sense in me lying as if I am a different man, okay? But anyways, so it was funny because in the comments after, people were, and I didn't pick this fight. You know who did pick this fight? Two people that I love and hold dear. And that is Radio Raheem, who told me on the phone that he expected Foster to win a competitive fight. And hey, good on Radio Raheem. You may know him. And the greatest analyst in this household, and that is Leonardo Zattel. Once again, my son, my 6-year-old. And I go, Leo, who's going to win? And he go, the guy with the hat on. And that was O'Shaquie Foster with his hat backwards. I go, why, son? And he goes, he looks confident. He looks cool. And the other guy looks mad. And I go, okay, but why is he not mad? Why is that not a good thing, Leo? He's like, I just think the other guy looks confident and ready to go. And
We gotta stop hating on Leo, bro. You know what I mean? We're using him like the genie in the bottle, or like the Oz. You know what I mean? We gotta give him his shine. He deserves it. He's braver than me. He's willing to put his predictions forward publicly ahead of the fight. Like I can't be taking credit for these predictions because I do tell you, but I have resigned myself from not putting my credibility on the line. I don't even want to be judged by that. So Leo, he's the predictive spy. That guy's got to get his moment.
I think maybe some of my powers have transferred to him or something. Like the young man is taking the old man's powers from him. But it's not public. I got to start getting him on the show. But I got to get the last minute Leo pick. But anyways, it was funny in my comments. So I had a great breakdown with Abraham Nova, who fought both of them, who also correctly predicted on the channel that Foster would win a unanimous decision. He said, put all your money on Foster. He was right. And Angelo Leo and Bruce Carrington, two featherweight champions, both predicted Foster would win a decision. They were right. But I pushed back as much as I could on Nova. And if he was picking Ford to win easily by decision, I would have done the exact same thing. Try to punch holes in his hypothesis, his reasoning, challenge him to get him to flesh out better and better why he thought one guy would beat the other. And it's a tactic I've been doing in my interviews for almost a decade now, right? And so
I see what happened. Listen,
right. So then in the comments, they took that as like being biased for Ford. And then after the fight, I said, because there was 114 scorecard, right? And I'm explaining during the fight, DAZN has a 40% stake in Matchroom USA. This is Top Rank's second fight under their umbrella as this partnership with DAZN, right? So there's little politicals. Even though Foster's the champion and fighting at home, it's Ford with the A-side promoter in the fight. And then Foster, he lost that very controversial first fight to Robson Conceição because Foster, who's an excellent defensive fighter too, and can alternate and turn it up on offense like he did late in this fight, like he's done now several times in the clutch late in fights. He sometimes can let 40, 30, 50 seconds go without throwing a punch and feeling in control of the fight with his defense, with his positioning. But other judges, you can wind up costing some closely nicked and swing rounds like that. So clearly what that judge who had Raymond Ford, between the political aspect I laid out and between Ford or Foster leaving some rounds close by the time Ford got tired midway through the fight, that's how you wind up with a 114 card that has people scratching their heads. But what's funny is you know who gave me a lot of shit over the last 6 months on Twitter? Raymond Ford. And do you know what he get? You know what the impetus of his beef was with me in December? It was after O'Shaquie Foster dominated Stephen Fulton, and I said, O'Shaquie Foster is the best 130-pounder in the world. And he's like, you dick-riding reporters. I hate y'all. He said, I hate y'all. And he hated me for saying it. And
well,
then,
we hate dick-riding reporters, too. You're just not one of them.
yeah, I mean, maybe once we could all be guilty. Maybe, I'm trying to be as self-defecating and honest as possible. So maybe once in a while, even I could be guilty of it.
Deprecating, Sean.
Self-deprecating. Thank you. Self-deprecating. Thank you, Raheem. So I say all that to say, if anything, I kind of would want O'Shaquie Foster to win. And a lot of there's front runners out there, man. Where were you in the comments when O'Shaquie Foster was getting ready to fight Ray Vargas? Where were you for the two Conceição fights? Now he gets some shine because he's in a fight with some buzz, a hot buildup. He performs well. Now he's in the mix for a top 10 pound-for-pound guy like Shakur Stevenson. And now you want to come in the comments and dick ride. Look, if anything, I wanted O'Shaquie Foster to win. But I knew Raymond Ford, being younger, new to the weight, being very fast and sharp, I said, I don't want to get put on the Summer Jam screen since which is a perfect, because I didn't even know you were going to bring up Jay-Z. I didn't want to be the next contestant on that Summer Jam screen, because you know who said you know what to you know who, but I just wanted to keep that between me and you. So, yeah, anyways, let's actually get to the fight now. I'm sorry I took 7 minutes to get through all that.
Well, one of the best examples of what you were talking about when how you get to a 14-14 and the way that people might misperceive what was happening, by my estimation, because it wasn't an even fight. It wasn't. I don't even think it was really a very close fight. You can hear in a very close fight. I don't think it was a very close fight.
Okay.
You can hear in the comment, Terry, of Sergio Mora, an analyst who is worried about how people are perceiving what they're watching. And for a minute there, I was like, is Sergio in the bag? Like, why is he leaning so heavy this way? And I know that Sergio's not really that kind of guy. Like, I will take my shots at the commentary when necessary. That's not what's happening here. In fact, it took me a minute to figure out what was happening there. And kudos to him for it. Because what he was doing was giving context to what you were watching, understanding how we could be on our way to a decision that is out of pocket for what what Foster was actually accomplishing in there. And so I think Sergio took it upon himself, and sometimes a little heavy-handed, but took it upon himself to keep giving credit to Foster for what he was doing, and in some ways putting what Ray Ford was doing in the proper light, right? There's a lot of missed punches in this fight. There was a lot of seeming back and forth, but who was actually in control, depending on what you like, as people say, can be skewed. I thought Foster was in control of the fight for a majority of the fight, while I thought Ford was more dangerous for a majority of the fight. I kept worrying about, oh man, is this big shot coming that's going to change the fight? Ford had that energy. He had that aggressive posture for 2/3 of the fight. It was feeling like at any moment it could shift, but it never really did. And because of that kind of like back and forth over the line here and there, and the style that Foster is employing, I could see how it could be seen the other way. And if you're coming in A side, if you think Ray Ford already, is a harder puncher, and you might have that in the back of your mind, you might be giving him more credit than he deserves, or taking away from Foster what he's earned. And I saw or heard Sergio kind of continuously making that point, and I was like, okay, a credit to him for that. I would have liked, with all that said, I would have liked to see a bit more from Foster, though. I thought there was more work he could do, especially down the stretch. I'm not sure if it was caution or if that really is just his way of being responsible, but he had more opportunities there than he took.
No, that is his MO. His MO is to fight a majority of the rounds that way and then close strong, which is exactly what he did. And to defend Sergio, right? I also thought this was a close fight with a lot of swing rounds, and so did the judges. Because for the one judge who had it 116, 112, Shockey Foster, and for the judge that had a dubious 114, 114, because there's no way this was an even fight on the cards. The last two rounds left no doubt, but by it would have been to Sergio's point, it would have been a majority draw if Foster doesn't close the last two rounds strong. Because if those two rounds are close little nip and tuck Ray Ford rounds, like he's been awarded in a number of the rounds on the cards, except for the 118, 110, then instead of 116, 112, it's 114, 114 draw. The other card, instead of being 114, 114, is 116, 112 Ford, and then you would have a 116, 112 Foster, and it would have been a draw. So that's the point Sergio's making. There's little moments in the fight, Foster, like in the 10th or 9th round, he makes him miss and hits the shoulder, right? But it knocks him a little off balance, and it's a sweeping left hand from Ford. I saw the shot in real time. There's one judge to Foster's back. And in that sequence, if you see a sweeping left hand and the fighter gets knocked off balance on the shoulder, to him, it might have looked like it hit him here and and he's rolling the shot. That's the kind of things you take and that's why Foster got a dubious loss to Conceição, because he cuts it too close sometimes in some of those rounds. Now, I think, so to the fight itself, though, I think a big reason why Ray Ford tired in this fight is you look at Alexander Usyk in the heavyweight division and the way his conditioning with his constant feinting and probing, not against Rico Verhoeven last week, but Usyk when he's right and on all cylinders, he tires guys out by them having to react to every feint, to every movement, to every sidestep. And over 12 rounds, they can't keep up with that. That was Ray Ford in this fight, because usually he gets a lot of his best work done. He won the title at featherweight by coming here, and he had a good high guard in this fight. A majority of Oshaki's combinations were being caught on his gloves, but this evolved into a fight of who can just get off more, because almost nobody's landing significant punches for a majority of the round, because you're seeing quick reflexes. You're seeing counter punches to counter punches. You're seeing a defensive reflex and maneuver for everything coming in each fighter's way. And that wore Raymond Ford out halfway through the fight. Usually he could go here, catch, a little something here and there, and then and then use those quick hands, pull the trigger, and he's going to get the cleaner, sharper work done and be the better fighter more times than not over 12. In this fight, when he wants to do that, he's got a guy that can make him miss 90% of the time. So he has to go feint for feint. He has to go counter for counter. That's the level Shock is making him fight at, and halfway through, the gas tank tapped out, and Foster was able to sustain it for all 12. So
there's a conversation that's always being had at every fight that we seldom get, if ever, get the fullness of, and we only get glimpses. I wish, like, for all these people who do watch-alongs, yours being the best of them by far, I wish we could have a corner watch-along. I wish there was some way I could just listen to each corner in real time, because it does tell a story in the fight, a narrative that we don't often really get to fill in the blanks with. Corner work was great, I'd say, on both sides. There was a difference, though, in what the corner was able to do. On the Foster side, I love that corner speak. I wanted more. That's its own show. I like it. I like the energy in the corner. I like the way they talk to each other. The instruction was spot on. And in the Ford corner, they told him what the right thing to do. You were talking about that high guard. They were like, it ain't high guard time now. We need to, let your hands go, and that's the right advice. But the difference was Foster's corner was able to give him the exact instructions, and he was able to make the adjustments necessary. They knew what exactly they could do and how to change throughout the fight. And Ray Ford's corner clearly was out of ideas. Not because they couldn't think of something, but they knew their fighter wasn't going to be able to do something else. So part of that mental exhaustion is knowing that your bag is only this deep. and you got to keep wash, repeat, and recycle. And if that ain't working, or if that ain't getting you there, you get tired of not being effective. You get frustrated because you can't pivot to something else that is working, and you feel like, well, I'm faster with this guy. I hit harder than this guy. I'm getting in and out, but I can't catch him. We're in exchanges, but I'm missing. He's hitting me, and he's touching me when I should be able to counterpunch and strike back, and it ain't happening. Or when I get success, I can't build on it. I think that was really what was exhausting. A lot of people are talking about his engine, his conditioning. And I don't know. I wasn't in camp. Maybe there was a conditioning issue. I think it was here, though. I think he went in there. You can tell from the front rounds how he was confident, man. He was faster than Ford at the outset. He was
faster than Foster at the outset.
He was faster than Foster at the outset. If he had hit Foster with some more of those shots early, like I said, I kept waiting on the big one. Because, there was nastiness. There was intention on those punches. And I believe, again, if he could have got there, and credit to Foster, because he never really did, and when he landed stuff good, he couldn't put 1, 2, and 3 together behind it. But if he had, fight might have gone different. And Ray Ford knew that. And knowing that he can't get there, hadn't gotten there, man, he came in the fight ready. I think part of it was he came in the fight so ready that he couldn't believe this wasn't really working, that it wasn't going better. And then you get that maturity in the championship rounds. I thought his last best effort, in the end of the fight, was round 10. Not that he had a great round, but that I saw him I saw him sell out for a minute. Like, all right, I'm going to push him. I'm going to push him back. I'm going to put the elbow in. I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to just get in there and rough him up. And I was like, okay, if he's able to switch through the gears, if this is him shifting up and we see 11 and 12, like he gets some energy out of nowhere and this fight's about to be real interesting. But he never shifted up. He pushed and then here comes Foster, who didn't do a whole lot more. It was just that all of a sudden you saw Ray rescind, and then Foster just made up the difference.
Yeah, and Foster just, like you said, the deeper bag, could do more things, more sophistication to his skill set, more going on pre-punch, more feints, and after a while, Ford couldn't keep up with that. His class told over time, and again, he's got a good clutch gene against Rocky Hernandez, against Ray Vargas, against a number of fighters, and then including this fight, Abraham Nova, dropping him in the 12th round. He saved something for those last 2 rounds and put together a really good combination, hurt him with an uppercut. You know what this fight reminded me of in its own way was Inoue Nakatani from 4 weeks ago. All the way down to the champion retaining his titles by producing a big moment in the 11th round with a right uppercut. It's the same punch, 2 different ways. Inoue, ducked underneath 2 or 3 shots and came with a right uppercut. Foster threw a combination on the gloves and picked the right and pierced it with a right uppercut. And the champion, and they're almost, I think, the same age. I think Ford and Nakatani might both be 28, and I think Inoue and Foster might both be 33, and we're the defending champions. And what you got in both fights was a high-level chess match, but I can't call it true high-speed chess. And this is where I'll get the blowback, right? Because you said a week ago, we're getting these fun Dubois, Wardley, etc., right? Or Wilder, Chisora to a lesser extent, levels-wise, between 2 older fighters than Dubois and Wardley who are in their prime. But you're like, we're getting these fun fights. Are they really at the highest of skill levels? And lately what we're getting is you're either going to get the high-level chess match, or you're going to get not as high a level, but a really entertaining fight. And not Rock'em Sock'em Robo. I'm not saying that, although Wilder Chisora kind of was that. But again, 2 older fighters who were 40-plus years old. But what I'm getting at is I remember a time, and people, they were roasting me going, you're always bringing up the 90s, because I would bring up a Tony and a McCallum, a Mike McCallum, James Tony, or a De La Hoya Mosley 1, which is almost in the 90s, 2000. All right, forget that. You know what fight I originally compared Foster and Ford to? Was Corey Spinks and Zab Judah, right? I am old enough to have watched those fights as they happen on HBO and the second fight on Showtime. In the first fight, there's a knockdown in the 11th and the 12th round from both fighters. So you're getting all this high speed, you're getting all this chess, but a fight that concludes with 2 knockdowns. You're getting these real explosive moments that add that much action to the chess, right? And I know this fight closed strong, and it had animosity throughout, and it was a spirited affair. And then in the rematch with Corey Spinks and Zab Judah knocks him out in 9 rounds, drops him twice. So between 21 rounds, you get like 3 or 4 knockdowns and a knockout. In 24 rounds between Beterbiev and Bivol, in 24 rounds combined between Inoue and Nakatani and Foster and Ford, not a single knockdown, not let alone a knockout. So I'm sorry. I just remember a time where you would get it all, because now you'll see in the comments this false binary. If you want rock'em sock'em robot, high level. There was a time in this sport where it was fought at the highest level and you got action, knockdowns, a stoppage, vicious exchange after vicious exchange. Morales and Barrera was not rock'em sock'em robots. That was fought at like the highest offensive skill level, and they had defense and all that, but the offense alone was great. Pacquiao, Marquez, etc. So, yeah, that's all. But it was a good, tense chess match. It was, but I don't know if it's funny because literally high-speed chess, they were playing chess at a very high speed. But when I think of high-speed chess, I think of a little bit more explosive moments. And to your point, not a lot of clean punches were landing in this fight because both guys have excellent defense and speed and all. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, everybody out there, I'm going to give you 3 seconds to put your parasocial earmuffs on. You're super sensitive. It's time for you. Now, don't leave the video. Just put it on mute for a little while. I got to talk to the adults. Okay, done. The difference between Nagatani and Inoue and Ford and Foster is that what we saw at the end of the fight, like I said, was Ford dropping off and Foster kind of making up the difference. But he didn't, in Foster, crank up the gears. He did shift through the gears, and he stayed at levels where he could keep pressure on him, where he stayed busy enough, and he could definitively win those last 2 rounds. In Ford's last push, which I believe was the 10th round, he then gassed out, I believe, mentally, which then triggered the physical gas out. He had no more answers, and he couldn't just rely on some other bit of his engine to regenerate him into his energy from the 3rd and 4th and 5th rounds. And the difference between those 2 fights is in the first fight with Nagatani and Inoue, we saw a guy who hits that limit, who hits that 10th round type of energy and push, and then all of a sudden comes back out and is fresh like it's the 3rd and 4th and 5th round. That is why when we saw that fight, I kept saying, oh, he's fresh. He's fresh. He's not just like what Foster was, which is able to make up the difference or keep the levels and stay at a certain pace. Somehow he hit exhaustion and then was able to regenerate a level of energy that we only saw earlier in the fight, which I consider early in the fight fresh. So we're going to talk about people being upset about comments. This is what I mean. You can take from that what you want. All I'm saying is, look at the difference there. That's what I mean. That's why I was so astounded, because what I saw Foster do is what you can do when you are in that position and about to win a fight. That's great. That's how I see guys win fights. That is something that I can understand. What we saw from Inoue and what we see from him consistently is something that is beyond that. And maybe it's because Inoue is just beyond that as a fighter, or he's like, he's the superhuman anomaly, and he's a Pacquiao of his generation and all that shit. Whatever you say. I'm just saying, if you can't see the difference between what would happen with Foster and what's been happening with Inoue, then you will never understand what I mean. And all I'm saying is those two. I'm so glad you brought that fight up, because I didn't even think of that. That's a perfect thing that gets me just in shock and awe about what Inoue is able to do when he hits that wall. The former type of fight that we would get in the 80s and 90s from fighters like this was pre-Floyd. By the way, you guys can take your parasocial earmuffs off. You take them off. And you guys, now you got to put them on. You guys put them on. Okay. So It's the Floyd effect. It is guys feeling like that's enough. Like you said, I just didn't know if it was Foster being cautious or, if that's just how he controls fights. Like, no, that's what he does. And that's how, he lost the controversial decision to Conceição, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's because they just want to do enough to get a definitive win on the cards, but not necessarily leave no doubt. If you don't have to put yourself in harm's way, because let me tell you what, while Foster, I believe, was able to stay at the levels, when we're talking about going through the gears, he was able to keep his energy up for 11 and 12. If he had shifted higher, if he had decided that 11 and 12 was going to be the knockout rounds and not just the rounds where he was going to make up the difference and win, well, he would have put himself in harm's way. Maybe Foster finally lands that one shot. And that's possible, because I saw that potential from Foster all the way. Even when he was gas-tired, he still got that quick, sharp, short shot.
Ford.
I mean, Ford, sorry.
No, you're good.
Ford, 2 F's. Yeah. My bad. Thank you for correcting me, though. But, yes, that's exactly what I mean. Ford was still dangerous even when he was at his most tired, because I believe that shot was still in him, and Foster knew he didn't have to he didn't have to run into the fire. He didn't have to go into the blades. And he didn't want to because he didn't have to. And I think that is the difference between this generation and the one you harken back to. And why even in a Shakur Stevenson fight and many others, you'll say at the end, I want to see a knockout. Or not even I want to see a knockout. I want to see him go for the knockout. I want to see him press and try to get the knockout. And that's what frustrates you, Sean. And then the rest of us will be like, why take the chance? You're ahead. You're winning. But that's just the difference in mentality. You can say it's right or wrong, but that's an example, I believe, of why it is. These guys are learning from a different school. When they say there's transformational presidents in the country, well, there are also transformational boxers. Ali was a transformational boxer. Floyd Mayweather is a transformational boxer where everybody comes after them takes a little bit of piece from them. Richard Pryor is a transformational comic. Everybody who comes after him has got a little piece of Richard in him if they're successful. Mm-hmm. That's what it is.
Yeah, and almost every American fighter has a piece of Floyd in him. O'Shaquie, it's obvious. You could tell he studied a lot of Floyd Mayweather to craft his style, 100%. And I don't need to see a knockout. Like Mike McCallum and James Toney never dropped each other, I believe, in multiple fights. De La Hoya and Mosley in that fight I referenced did not drop each other. But that intent is there. That consistent combination punching is there. That countering with bad intentions there. And you got some of that in this fight. You did. But just I've seen it at that level before, and I can't misremember it. I can't pretend I didn't watch it on tape and not see it happen. And that's it, and that's all.
But you believe in 11 and 12 that Foster could have pressed harder. You think he could have went for more.
Not in the 11th. I think the 11th was a really great round by him. I think he let it all hang in the 11th round. First half of the 12th round, he followed it up. And then, to your point, in the second half of the 12th, it's like, this kid's gassed. He can't touch me. I already made my point in the first minute and a half of this 12th round. And in the 11th round, I've got this fight won. Let's keep him on the end of the length and get this decision, man. And I backed up what I said I was going to do. I beat the kid. So there's that. But Emanuel Steward, there's that famous clip of him in the corner with Vladimir Klitschko, who was up like 11 rounds to nothing. It might have been not Pulev, but I can't remember the fight. It was over probably in Dusseldorf, but he winds up knocking a guy out with a left hook. And he's up 11 to nothing. And Emmanuel's like, you got to go. You got to let your fucking hands go. You can't you can't get another bullshit decision, is what Emanuel said. And Emanuel said, I believe a knockout is a complete performance. And so for all you guys who think I'm talking blood and guts and I want to see blood, no. Emanuel said, what he was explaining was, that's a complete professional performance. That's finishing the job, is taking it out of the judge's hand and the Kronk style, the technical style, with precision, with clinical precision, break the other man down and knock him out inside of 12 rounds. And you're not always going to get a knockout, especially at this level. That's understandable. But that was always the goal for Emanuel Steward trained fighters. And so Vlad goes, okay, Emanuel. He's getting chewed out in the corner, and he goes out and gets a knockout in the 12th round of fight. He already had one because of Emanuel's instructions. The other one is with Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson, where Lennox is far ahead on the cards. Tyson's gassed and he's lost at sea, a much smaller guy. And Emanuel goes, you got a dead man in front of you. You still doing this? Man, let this shit go. Let it go. Knock him out. And the man is finished. Like, you know, and they're like, and Lennox again is like, okay. And then he goes out there and does it. So that you're going to tell me Emanuel Steward doesn't know boxing? He just wants to see Rock'em Sock'em Robots? No, that's the standards. So, but
it's funny because I was feeling more like I thought you would be feeling in the 11th and 12th, and I think what you're saying is very, very reasonable.
No, I would say 6, 7, 8, 9. The minute Ford's hands went to his sides and he couldn't consistently pick them up and feint anymore in the 6th round, in 6, 7, 8, 9, I was saying Foster's not doing enough. He's doing just enough to win these rounds when he's got a guy much more tired than him in front of him. You're saying he could have stepped it up more in the 11th and 12th. I would counter by saying if he did more of what he did in the 11th, 12th, in 6, 7, 8, 9, then he'd be ready to go with the 11th and 12th rounds you put together. That would be more my counter to it, you know?
Got it. Yeah, no, you're right. Fair play. You're right.
So okay, now I got to play the post-fight interview of Shakur Stevenson. Let's see if I got that audio anywhere. Okay, here we go. Here it was. For people who didn't hear after the fight. Okay, so what's funny about the Mad Rapper skit, though, and hopefully we don't get copyright for that, so is Shakur is actually not the Mad Rapper. And he is the guy getting the like $8-10 million paydays and has won a whole bunch of time. He's way more decorated and paid than O'Shaquie Foster, but he was so mad. He was so mad. It was the most angry I've ever seen him. He was like the Mad Rapper a little bit. He's like, man, O'Shaquie Foster, it was all right. It was cool. But my shit is more John Blaze than that. I got John Blaze shit, not O'Shaquie Foster. And it's like you're calling him a bum. What does that say about your bro that just lost to him then? Is he a bum? Of course he's not a bum. He's a really good fighter too. But in the midst of you shitting on O'Shaquie, that's kind of throwing Ray Ford under the bus. But that was the most angry I'd ever seen Shakur Stevenson in the post-fight.
Yes, it was. But he ain't angry at Foster. He's angry at Ray. He's mad because exactly what you just said. That's his boy, and he thought that this was going to go his boy's way. His boy was supposed to take care of this work. He promised Foster a fight if he beats Ray Ford because he didn't think Ray Ford was going to lose. And now Ray Ford has put him in the crosshairs, and he's up there mad because he knows he's about to break his word. He's up there. He ain't arguing about fighting, bro. He's up there arguing about sparring. Listen to what they're saying. You don't hear Shakur until at the very end when Ford just really puts it to him and says, oh, all right. Everybody knows what all right means. Not all right. I'm not doing that, right? That's just like you have to say all right because you're cornered. He was, Shakur, talking about who got the better of whom in sparring. That's what 75% of all that jacking was about. And at the end, when Shaq puts his hand out to shake on the fight, Shakur's like, no, I'm shaking your hand. What do you mean not shaking? What do you mean you're not shaking his hand?
Well, I think Shakur would say, I'll fight him, but I'm not shaking his hand.
No, he's not shaking his hand on the fight because he knows he's not about to have that fight. And he's mad because he's got to now go in there and do this instead of the fight, which he knows he's not going to have. The reasons why he's not going to have that fight are numerous, I'm sure. Money, opportunity, weight class, all these things can absolutely play a factor. I'm not saying he's not having that fight because he's afraid of Foster or he's ducking Foster. What I am saying, though, is before he climbed through those ropes, the entire time they're arguing, when he denied the handshake and when he got out of the ring and kept talking, through that entire time, Shakur Stevenson knows he ain't fighting Foster. Okay? This is not what that argument was about. Let me just a little bit of listen, young guys, listen, boys. I know what it is in the culture. I get it. I know things are heated. I could do it a little bit less in this, in that, in bomb there, in bird this. Like, I understand how we speak, okay? But it's like that. It's just something I gotta say because it was cringe for me. It's like you're grown men now. You're on national television with a global reach, world champions. Like you can talk this beef out with it's just a touch more class. Just edit yourself a little bit for the environment and situation you're in. Maybe I'm now the old guy who's aged out. Maybe I'm saying the thing that you're not supposed to say to young people. But it just was like, that whole interaction to me was like, Shakur didn't even want to get in the ring. It was Foster like beckoning him in, calling him out because of what he said, and Shakur was pissed because he had to figure out how to defend his promise, knowing that he wasn't going to make good on it.
Man, I mean, I don't. Yeah, I'm curious. Before you tell me exactly why the fight's not going to happen, I get it. I mean, that would be like who's going to put the money up? Shakur coming off a career high payday against Teofimo is going to want a lot of money. And while Foster and Shakur is a fight for the purists that a lot of hardcore boxing fans are ready to watch, it's not. It's probably going to be more of a chess match, just like this was. And who's gonna pay for it? Is it really a big fight? I'm down to watch it. You're down to watch it. Anybody who is a hardcore boxing head will watch the fight and watch that chess play out between two chess masters. Shakur would be the favorite in that fight, I think, for sure, and I would favor him. But it is an interesting fight. It is, and it'd be interesting to see Shakur have to play chess with someone who's a chess master too, and all the animosity and build-up. Before you tell me exactly why it won't happen, though, I want to give props to O'Shaquie Foster. I overlooked this in the middle of our convo. I talked about it on my live last night. I'm happy for him. He's a guy who has genuinely turned his life around. I'm a huge Bernard Hopkins fan. He became my favorite fighter growing up in the 2000s. And I loved how Bernard changed his life around after being incarcerated, became the strictest of fighters, who was a late bloomer. O'Shaquie Foster, some similarities there. He was once incarcerated, did what he did early in his life, and you can see a genuine turnaround in him that he's not that guy anymore. He is a hard-working professional who has also been a late bloomer and is still getting better into his 30s, which is a testament to how much of a craftsman he is at studying his craft and continuing to improve, not just getting satiated, winning a title, making some money, but as a late bloomer, getting better and better. And I think that's why a lot of people are coming around to O'Shaquie Foster as this kind of, humble, kind of down-to-earth guy who's changed his life around and now has gone from a guy who wasn't fighting on TV, who lost to two fighters you've never heard of, to now knocking on the door of the pound-for-pound list and being put in conversations by the boxing world to fight one of the best fighters in the sport. So hats off to O'Shaquie Foster. I'm genuinely happy for him that he's come this far into boxing and has earned the right, whether he gets a Shakur fight or not, whether I think Shakur wins that fight or not. A part of me would rather see the unification at 130 pounds with Vaquero Navarrete to see who's the best in the weight class once and for all. But Top Rank's never been keen on making that fight. They could have made that unification for like 3 years now. Navarrete has never seemed to want it. Top Rank's never seemed to want to make it. Maybe they're so, but I'd still like to see it. But yeah, I mean, I guess because of the money that have to be put up and everything, and what Turkey, I don't see him paying for that fight. So if they got to eat what they kill, and it really be more of a Top Rank show, because I don't even know Shakur's status right now. He's rumored to sign a big deal with Zuffa. He's fought under Turkey shows. He had a moment there with Eddie for a few fights. I don't believe they're still together right now. So what's he gonna do? Fight under the Top Rank umbrella and eat what he kills in a Foster fight? Is that why you're saying you don't see the fight happening next?
That is one of the reasons. Yes, I'll give you another one though. Shakur thinks of Foster as, if we're gonna keep with the way they were talking, one of his little ends. He sees this as like a sparring partner he gave some work to. He sees him as the kind of guy he can tell to go fight somebody else, another one of his juniors, another one of his little ends that he won't get past. And it's not in the fact that you're even talking about him in the breath with me is what he was mad about. The fact that the kid's got some point that you did promise him a fight if he got through this hurdle, and he actually went over there, fought the guy, and got through the hurdle. Mm-hmm. He called your bluff. Yeah. And like I say, you ain't doing it. No, the money won't be there for that fight. Yes, I'd love to see it. It'd be interesting. I mean, but am I dying to see it? No. I'm not dying to see that fight. And I think in a way, Shakur, not even in a way, I think Shakur is right. Like, he is better than Foster. Foster maybe can get better. I don't know if he can get that good, though.
He's excellent. There's excellent. Yeah. There's elite, right? There's quality champion and elite champion.
And look, listen, Ray Ford is no Shakur Stevenson. But Shakur was there as Ray Ford prepared for this fight. He was watching with that analytic. To me, it's like he was able to download Foster through his not I won't call him protege, but
he called him his crash dummy.
I would call him.
I wouldn't. That's what Tim said.
You know what I mean? So that's an advantage to Shakur right there. I guarantee you, he is sitting there thinking about how he would fight that fight while he's watching Ray fight the fight. And that is only that much more information for him to download ringside with the style that he helped put together, with a game plan he was definitely involved in, and watch Ray not be able to meet the mark. And you put something like that in a guy like Shakur Stevenson's mind, that he even though he's not having the fight, he'll be sitting there having the fight in his mind over and over again. He doesn't think Foster deserves to fight him. He doesn't think Foster should be spoken of in the same breath as him. He's going to be pissed that people like us are talking about this fight should happen or we want to see it. That's what he's mad about. That this now has to be a conversation. When, yes, he should be talking about unifying, undisputed, big paydays, massive shows, massive signings. Foster's not a part of any of that. That's why the fight is very unlikely to happen unless something seismically shifts in one of these departments.
It's interesting because I likened O'Shaquie in some regard to Bernard Hopkins, right? And once upon a time, even though they fought in Roy's first title fight, Bernard wasn't Bernard yet. Roy and James Toney were the Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson kind of to Bernard's to O'Shaquie Foster. Like, we're the thoroughbreds who've jumped out to the gates, were anointed and backed it up and proved why we were anointed. And you're this older guy that's come through the back door of boxing who's good. But you're not, in the 90s, Hopkins knew he was behind in line in stature and accomplishments to James Toney and Roy Jones. But eventually he caught up through hard work, through being a late bloomer, through being a craftsman. And I think that is why you're seeing a lot of hardcore fans lay their heart in this beef, this tension between Shakur and O'Shaquie, is because of that dynamic a little bit. Even I'm making them realize it, even if they don't realize it, which is O'Shaquie is the underground. He's the good MC from the underground who didn't get that shine. He didn't get that big record deal right away. He didn't get that big platinum album right away, but he's been steady doing his thing, and it's like, yo, this guy could really go. We want to see him jump on a track or get in a battle with the big time rapper or whatever. And that's O'Shaquie. He took a couple L's. Shakur Stevenson was signed day one from Top Rank. His pro debut was with Top Rank, signed straight out of the amateurs, won the silver medal. He was anointed as he's a shoo-in for the pound-for-pound list one day, and he did it. Good on him. People didn't see O'Shaquie Foster coming. And now that they're getting to know him and he's earning his way to this level, there's a little bit of that dynamic. People are going to lay their heart with the underdog sometimes in that dynamic.
Yeah. And let me tell you what is making this more difficult for Shakur to swallow. And the part of the culture that I know you know, but won't be talked about anyplace else but here. Boxing in the professional ranks is not a team sport. But what you are watching right now from the Shakur, from the Crawford, from the Ford, they're clicking up. I don't want to call it gangs. but they got kind of a little gang mentality, right? In the highest regard of the word. I don't mean, you understand what I'm saying. They're not thugs, but they are clicked up in a community of fighters of individuality. And one thing I will say about what Foster said, he kind of alluded to that himself in the pre-fight. I don't remember exactly where he said it, but he's like, yo, these guys aren't my friends. I don't got no friends I won't fight. Like, I'm here to fight. I'm here to win championships. We're here to compete, not to have best friends in the game. You know, and so taking this fighter off the table, because that's my bro. That's what he said. He's like, yeah, they're not even real brothers. Like, that's my brother, which I understand. It's a mentality, but it ain't a mentality that actually belongs in boxing. That ain't your biological brother. And how many brothers do you get? Yeah. You know what I mean? And then if you're going to go send your little brother to do the work out in the street, and he runs into a guy who's claiming OG, who wants to block, who beats him down, now you're not going to go give cred to the gang? You're not going to go take that fight even though the money's not there, even though the network might not be the one you want, even though the championship, maybe it may not be the weight class you want. You're not going to go. That if you're gonna play that card, if we all brothers and gang and family and I can't fight this, I can't fight that, well then you kind of gotta fight this one. How many people can you not fight?
He's named after the great Tupac Shakur, your old friend from the Death Row days. I always got shout out Raheem. Remember
before he went into gang? I like Tupacalypse. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, but you're not. What he's saying, you're not even on my level. I'm gonna let my little homies ride on you, bitch, man. Feel it. Get out the way. And Ray Ford was supposed to say, "Get out the way, yo. Get out the way, yo." Well, Shockey Foster just got shot, but it didn't. It was not so.
Not to be morbid, but riding for the little homies is why Tupac ain't here no more.
That and the Illuminati, but. That's aside, Raheem. Just to give you the other side, okay? Because the white guys do this too. In wrestling, there was the Clique. It was Kevin Nash, Shawn Michaels, Scott Hall, Triple H, who now runs. He's an underling. He's an underling now of TKO. See, he kind of double crossed his father-in-law.
You mean Donald Trump's TKO?
Yeah, Donald Trump, the guy who owns part of TKO now. Yeah, that's right. But it's not deeper than boxing, right? I'm just an asshole.
Amazing. I don't want to trigger you. I shouldn't even said that.
No, it's okay.
Go on. This will turn into another hour.
Paul Levesque and Shawn Michael Hickenbottom, I think is his real name, and Sean Waltman, X-Pac, and Scott Hall, Kevin Nash. They all had this thing in what was then called professional wrestling, known as the Clique. And they would make sure, hey, we'll get all the titles. We'll make sure all of us get over and win all the matches. And that caused all the other wrestlers to fucking hate them. So that's, like the black or white, these things happen. They didn't like it when that happened. So here we go.
That's true. But if the four horsemen are riding and somebody beats Arn Anderson, Lex is coming. You're not, you know what I mean? You're not about to just put somebody down like that, and then you can't still beat a horseman. You gotta ride. So you know what? I said this fight isn't happening, but now, and I still don't think it is, but now, Shakur, you gotta think about what are you going to do here? Is this a team sport? Are these your brothers? And you sent Ray Ford into the fire to be a proxy, was the word I was looking for before. That was Shakur's proxy. By his own mouth. Fight him, and then I'll fight you. You remember at the post-fight for Canelo, Crawford pulled the same thing with Teofimo. You remember that?
Yeah.
So that's their MO now, right? Listen, that's gang stuff. Right. That's what that is, right? But if that happens, if they do that, then you gotta OG up. You gotta make good. You gotta make good, or give me this, or give me the Keyshawn fight. It's either Foster